It has never been more important to recognize the spiritual battles that we are fighting. In our modern, postmodern, postmodern secular world, we have resigned our religious selves to the background of society. And in many spheres of our lives, at work or in our communities, our friend groups, our spirituality and our religiosity might not be so present. In fact, it might actually be looked down upon to bring your faith into spaces where it apparently doesn't belong. And yet, with the dawn of new movements, new political movements, and the big scientific community, and so many different spiritual movements that we are able to join, there is this spirituality, most definitely, that filters through every part of our lives. And whether we are in a friend group where our Christian values are to be ignored and repressed, or whether we are in a workspace where we're not allowed to talk about our religion, all of these spaces require us to make some kind of decision about our spirituality. How am I gonna make my spiritual self present in this space? How am I gonna communicate my values to the other person who might have other values than I have? How do I communicate with someone, or how do I communicate in this whole capitalistic, democratic system that doesn't necessarily accept all the Christian values that we learn about in the Bible? There are things such as the hope that we have in Christ, loving forgiveness, the respect for another human being based on their dignity, their God-given dignity. These kind of things, or these kind of attitudes, Christian values and attitudes, don't always appear in the public life. We have to sort of live our Christianity in our private spheres, whatever that means, because it seems to me our private spheres are now being dominated by the online world, our phones and our laptops and social media is the world that we enter into when we often go home and just mindlessly scroll on Instagram or YouTube or listen to podcasts and all kinds of videos. The thing is, we are actually participating in a public sphere, I think. Whenever we go on our phones and we communicate with others and we listen to all kinds of speakers and voices, we are participating in a new kind of public life. And that is where I think things are getting interesting nowadays, is that on our phones, obviously, we get to listen to a sermon from whoever we may choose, from Billy Graham to Martin Luther King's speech. We can listen to a Christian motivational speaker and at the same time to a Catholic priest leading a liturgy. But also, we can go, of course, into the dark web or the dark world of different kind of things. We can go into those spaces where our spirituality is actually also repressed. And it's this uncomfortable question that makes me very uncomfortable as well. What do I do in my private little space in my room or in my living space? Is my spirituality then actually really in my private sphere? Or have I also repressed that side of myself? Have we actually eliminated our meaningful religiosity in the public life as well in our private life? Have we perhaps almost completely forgotten God? Have we forgotten that God is actually alive? Have we forgotten that God is dead? Maybe he is dead in our conscious minds. And yet at the same time, in those spaces where society doesn't look so frequently, or in those spaces that are more hidden, I believe God is at work. And it might mean that when we look deep into ourselves, we first have to uncover so many little demons, from our past and from the present day, little spirits that we took over from our parents or our friends, of negative emotions and states that we go into. For example, depressed states where we don't see the beauty in life at all. I think these are all some kind of demon that we have to wrestle with. And then we also have to wrestle with the values and the rules and the dominating forces in our society. We have to wrestle with that idea of masculinity or femininity that is undergirding society's consciousness. Or we have to think deeper about the axioms of our society, the most fundamental values that we represent. It might be different values for different peoples, but some values include, for example, the freedom of the individual, the freedom of an individual to have opinions and arguments and to investigate the world for himself and to be an individual. That might be one value at the bottom of society. But then the one value or the one repressed part of our consciousness, I believe, might in fact be the God who says yes to me, the God who loves me in spite of everything I have done so wrong, the God who says no to my fear of judgment and of unacceptance and of rejection, the God who tells me, yes, my child, you are actually accepted. at the very bottom, or in fact at the very height of our individual and collective selves, God is still present. If we look deep enough in society, into the underpinnings of society, and especially of my own mind and my own soul, then it's unavoidable to come into contact or to wrestle with that God that we have ignored for so long, whose death we have somehow accepted, whose absence from our conscious lives we've ignored. But he is there. And once you uncover so many parts of yourself, I think you'll find him just like I did.